Your money leaves but never comes back. Bills get paid, money disappears, and your bank account stays empty no matter how hard you work. What if I told you the problem isn't how much you earn, it's how you're speaking to your money? Florence Scovel Shinn discovered in the 1920s that money has a personality, and it responds to your words like a living being. In the next 60 seconds, I'm going to give you the exact phrase she taught that changed hundreds of lives in less than 30 days. Here's the phrase: money, you are welcome in my life. Thank you for coming. Bring more of your family to stay with me. Say this every single time you receive or spend money. Sounds too simple? That's exactly what people said in 1925 when Florence first taught this. But here's why it works. Money is energy, and energy responds to the vibration you send it. When you curse money, complain about it, or treat it like an enemy, it mirrors that energy back to you. Before we go deeper, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now and comment where you're watching from. This helps more people discover this teaching. And if you're serious about transforming your relationship with money, subscribe to this channel because we're about to go on a journey that could change everything you thought you knew about prosperity. Let me tell you about Florence Scovel Shinn. She wasn't born rich. She wasn't a banker or an economist. She was an art teacher in New York City who became one of the most revolutionary spiritual teachers of the 20th century. And what made her different? She dared to say something nobody else was saying. Money is alive. Not metaphorically alive, not symbolically alive, actually alive in the way it responds to your energy, your words, and your beliefs. The year was 1920. The United States had just survived World War I, and the country was heading toward the Great Depression. Banks were failing, families were starving, and women, especially women, had almost no financial power. They couldn't vote, couldn't own property in many states, and were taught that desiring money was sinful, especially for a woman. Into this darkness, Florence walked with a message that sounded insane. Talk to your money like you talk to a friend, and it will respond like a friend. People laughed, people mocked her, but then something happened. Women who applied her teaching started reporting miracles. Not metaphorical miracles, real, tangible, financial breakthroughs. Jobs appeared out of nowhere. Debts disappeared. Income tripled. And it all started with one simple shift. They changed how they spoke to money. Let me share the first story. Her name was Dorothy. She was a schoolteacher barely making enough to feed herself. Every month, she counted pennies, skipped meals, and lived in constant fear that the rent wouldn't get paid. She carried shame about money, like so many women in that era. She'd been taught that good women didn't think about money, didn't ask for money, didn't deserve money. So money stayed away from her. When Dorothy met Florence, she was skeptical. "Talk to money?" she said. "That's ridiculous." But Florence looked her in the eye and said something that changed everything. "Dorothy, if you treat money like an unwelcome guest, why would it ever stay in your home?" That question broke something open in Dorothy's heart. She realized she had been cursing money her entire life. Every time she opened her empty wallet, she said, "Money never stays with me." Every time she paid a bill, she resented it. Every time someone else had more, she felt bitter. Florence taught her a new practice. Every morning, Dorothy would hold whatever money she had, even if it was just a few coins, and say out loud, "Thank you for being here. You are my friend. I welcome more of you into my life." At first, Dorothy felt foolish, but she kept doing it. Within 2 weeks, something shifted. A colleague offered her a side job tutoring students. Within a month, her income doubled. Within 3 months, she had saved more money than she'd ever had in her life. Coincidence? Florence would say no. She would say Dorothy finally opened the door, and money walked in. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds like magical thinking. This sounds like wishful woo-woo nonsense. And I get it. We've been taught that money is about hard work, about logic, about numbers. But here's what Florence understood that most people don't. Everything is energy. Your body is energy. Your thoughts are energy. And money? Money is one of the purest forms of energy exchange that exists. When you change the energy you direct toward money, money changes the energy it directs toward you. Think about it like this. Imagine you have a friend. Every time this friend visits you, you complain to them. Why don't you stay longer? Why do you always leave? You're never enough. How long before that friend stops visiting? Now imagine you have another friend, and every time they visit, you say, "I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for spending time with me. I love when you come by." Which friend is more likely to visit again? Money works the exact same way. Florence said money has personality. She meant that literally. Money, as a form of energy, responds to respect, gratitude, and love. It withdraws from resentment, fear, and bitterness. This isn't superstition. This is spiritual law, and the women who applied this law experienced results so powerful that word spread like wildfire through 1920s New York. Let me give you the second story. Her name was Helen. Helen was a widow with 3 young children. Her husband had died suddenly, leaving her with no savings, no income, and 3 mouths to feed. She was desperate. She went to Florence in tears and said, "I have nothing. How can I talk to money when I don't even have money to talk to?" Florence smiled gently and said, "Helen, you're asking the wrong question. The question isn't how much money you have. The question is, what energy are you sending to money right now?" Helen thought about it. She realized that every thought she had about money was rooted in terror. She was afraid money wouldn't come. She was afraid she'd fail her children. She was afraid she was being punished. Florence told her, "Fear repels money. Gratitude attracts it. Even if all you have is a single coin, hold it with gratitude. Speak to it with love. Invite it to multiply." Helen started the practice that night. She had exactly 17 cents to her name. She held those coins in her hand and whispered, "Thank you for being here. I know you're small, but you're the seed of something greater. I welcome your family into my life." It felt absurd. It felt desperate, but something inside her shifted. She went to bed that night feeling lighter than she had in months. The next day, a neighbor knocked on her door. The neighbor had heard about Helen's situation and offered her work cleaning houses. Within a week, Helen had earned enough to buy food. Within 2 weeks, another neighbor recommended her to a family who needed live-in help. Within a month, Helen had steady income and a safe place to live with her children. Did the money fall from the sky? No, but opportunities appeared that weren't there before. Doors opened. People showed up. Florence would say that's not luck. That's the law of circulation in action. When you bless money, money blesses you back. Now let's talk about what most people get wrong. They think talking to money is about begging. It's not. It's about alignment. Florence taught that the universe is infinitely abundant. There's no shortage of money. There's no shortage of resources. The only shortage is in our willingness to receive. And most of us have been programmed since childhood to block money. How many of you were told, money doesn't grow on trees? How many were told, rich people are greedy? How many were told, it's noble to be poor? These aren't just sayings. These are curses. Every time you repeat them, you're telling money to stay away. Florence called this self-sabotage. She said most people are walking around with invisible signs on their chest that say, "Money, don't come near me." And then they wonder why money listens. Here's the truth. Money wants to come to you. Money wants to flow to you. But it will only go where it's welcomed. If you treat money like it's dirty, it won't come. If you treat money like it's evil, it won't come. But if you treat money like it's a divine tool, a sacred energy, a blessing from the universe, watch what happens. Let me share the third story. Her name was Beatrice. Beatrice ran a small bakery that was barely surviving. Every month, she made just enough to cover rent and supplies, but never enough to save or grow. She worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week, and still felt like she was drowning. When Florence asked her how she felt about money, Beatrice said, "I hate it. I hate that I need it. I hate that I never have enough of it. I hate thinking about it." Florence said, "Beatrice, you just told me why your bakery is struggling. You hate money, so money is staying away from you." Beatrice was offended at first. She thought she was being accused of laziness, but Florence explained, "This isn't about working harder. This is about healing your relationship with money. Right now, you're in a war with money, and you can't win a war against the very thing you need." Florence taught Beatrice a new practice. At the end of every day, Beatrice would count the money in her register, no matter how little, and say out loud, "Thank you, money, for serving me today. Thank you for helping me feed my customers. Go out into the world and come back multiplied." At first, Beatrice resisted. It felt silly. But she was desperate, so she tried it. Within 1 week, something strange happened. A regular customer brought a friend. That friend brought another friend. Within 2 weeks, Beatrice had a line out the door. Within a month, she had to hire help. Within 3 months, her income had tripled. Did her baking get better? No. Did she advertise? No. She simply changed her energy toward money. And money responded. Now here's where this gets really practical. I want to teach you exactly how to apply this in your life starting today. You don't need to wait. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Florence gave 3 simple steps that anyone can do, and I'm going to walk you through them right now. Step 1. Stop insulting money. Pay attention to what you say about money. If you catch yourself saying, "I'm broke," stop. If you catch yourself saying, "Money always leaves me," stop. If you catch yourself saying, "I'll never have enough," stop. These words are spells, and you're casting them on yourself. Instead, say, "Money is on its way to me." Say, "I am open to receiving." Say, "Abundance is my natural state." Step 2. Thank money when it arrives. Every single time money comes to you, whether it's your paycheck, a refund, a gift, or a coin you find on the street, pause and say, "Thank you." Out loud if you can, silently if you must. Hold the money for a moment. Feel it. Acknowledge it. Let it know it's welcome. This isn't about worshiping money. This is about respecting the energy it represents. Step 3. Bless money when it leaves. This is the step most people skip, and it's the most powerful. When you pay a bill, when you buy groceries, when you give money to someone, bless it. Say, "Thank you for serving me. Go and return to me multiplied. Take love into the world and bring back abundance." This transforms spending from loss to circulation. You're not losing money. You're planting seeds. Let me give you the 4th story, and this one is powerful. Her name was Lillian. Lillian came from a family that had been poor for generations. Her grandmother was poor. Her mother was poor. Poverty was woven into her family identity. When Lillian met Florence, she said, "This won't work for me. Poverty is in my blood." Florence looked at her and said something radical. "Then change your blood." Lillian didn't understand. Florence explained, "You're not doomed by your past. You're not cursed by your family. You're only held back by the beliefs you keep repeating. If you want a different future, you need to speak different words." So Florence gave Lillian an assignment. Every morning for 30 days, Lillian had to say this out loud. "I break the curse of poverty in my family line. Money is welcome in my life. I am the generation that changes everything." Lillian felt ridiculous saying it. Her family mocked her. Her friends thought she'd lost her mind, but she kept going. And on day 23, something happened. Lillian received a letter informing her that a distant relative had left her an inheritance, not a fortune, but enough to change her life. She used that money to start a small business. That business grew. Within 5 years, Lillian had more wealth than anyone in her family had ever seen. She broke the cycle. Now, some of you are thinking, "That's a special case. That won't happen to me." And you're right. It won't. If you believe it won't. That's the whole point. Your beliefs create your reality. Florence said the subconscious mind is like soil. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you plant thoughts of scarcity, you'll harvest scarcity. If you plant thoughts of abundance, you'll harvest abundance. Talking to money is how you plant new seeds. Here's something fascinating. Florence taught this in the 1920s, but scientists today are proving she was right. Quantum physics tells us that observation affects reality. The observer effect shows that particles behave differently when they're being watched. In other words, your attention changes what you're looking at. When you focus on money with gratitude, you're literally changing the energy around money. This isn't mysticism. This is physics. Let me share the 5th story. Her name was Constance. Constance was a nurse who worked night shifts at a hospital. She made decent money, but it never seemed to stay. She paid her bills, and then she was broke again. She couldn't figure out why. When Florence asked her what she did with her money, Constance said, "I pay my bills and then it's gone." Florence said, "And how do you feel when you pay your bills?" Constance said, "I hate it. I feel like I'm being robbed." There it was. Florence explained, "Constance, every time you pay a bill with resentment, you're telling money, 'I hate when you leave me.' And so money leaves you as fast as possible. You're training it to go away." Florence taught Constance to change her ritual. Instead of paying bills with resentment, Constance would hold each bill, take a breath and say, "Thank you, money, for paying for my electricity. Thank you for keeping my lights on. Go with my blessing and return to me multiplied." At first, Constance thought it was pointless, but she tried it. And something shifted. Within a few weeks, Constance noticed she had money left over after paying bills, something that had never happened before. Within a few months, she received a raise at work. Within a year, she had saved more than she'd ever saved in her life. Same job, same income at first, different energy, different results. Now let's go even deeper. Florence taught that money is a mirror. It reflects back to you exactly how you feel about yourself. If you feel unworthy, money will stay away. If you feel ashamed, money will stay away. If you feel guilty for wanting it, money will stay away. But if you feel worthy, confident, and deserving, money flows to you naturally. This is why talking to money is really about talking to yourself. When you say, "Money, you are welcome in my life," you're really saying, "I am worthy of receiving." When you say, "Thank you for coming," you're really saying, "I am grateful for what I have." When you say, "Bring more of your family," you're really saying, "I am open to more." This is the secret beneath the secret. Talking to money reprograms your subconscious mind to believe you deserve abundance. Here's the sixth story. Her name was Adelaide. Adelaide was an artist who had been taught that spiritual people shouldn't care about money. She believed that wanting money made her shallow, materialistic, and impure. So she lived in poverty, telling herself it was noble. When she met Florence, Adelaide said, "I don't need money. I just need to create." Florence said something that shocked her. "Adelaide, rejecting money is rejecting God." Adelaide was offended. Florence explained, "God is abundance. The universe is infinite. Every tree produces more seeds than it needs. Every ocean has more water than can be measured. Abundance is the nature of creation. When you reject money, you're rejecting the way God wants to provide for you. You're saying, 'No thank you, God. I'd rather suffer.'" That hit Adelaide like lightning. Florence continued, "Money isn't the root of evil. The love of money above all else is the problem. But money itself? Money is neutral. It's energy. You can use it for good or evil, just like you can use words for good or evil. The question isn't whether you should have money. The question is, what will you do with it when it comes?" Adelaide realized she'd been living in a self-imposed prison. She'd been punishing herself for wanting something natural. Florence taught Adelaide to pray differently. Instead of praying, "God, help me survive without money," Adelaide started praying, "God, send me money so I can create more beauty in the world." Instead of rejecting money, she welcomed it as a tool for her purpose. Within weeks, Adelaide sold 3 paintings. Within months, she had more commissions than she could handle. Within a year, she was financially free and creating more art than ever before. Money didn't corrupt her. Money empowered her. Now let's address the biggest objection people have. "But I've tried thinking positively about money, and it didn't work." Here's why. Thinking positively isn't enough. You have to feel it. You have to embody it. You have to change your vibration, not just your thoughts. Florence said the subconscious mind doesn't respond to words alone. It responds to emotion. If you say, "I am abundant," but you feel terrified, your subconscious hears the fear, not the words. That's why talking to money is so powerful. When you physically hold money and speak to it with gratitude, you're creating an emotional experience. You're teaching your nervous system that money is safe, that money is good, that money is welcome. Over time, this rewires your brain. You stop fearing money. You stop resenting money. You start attracting money because you've become a vibrational match for it. Let me share the 7th story. Her name was Evelyn. Evelyn had tried every manifestation technique out there. Vision boards, affirmations, visualization. Nothing worked. She was frustrated and ready to give up. When she met Florence, she said, "I've done everything, and I'm still broke." Florence asked her one question. "Evelyn, do you trust that money is coming?" Evelyn paused and then admitted, "No, I don't. I say the words, but I don't believe them." Florence said, "Then that's your answer. You can't attract what you don't trust." Florence taught Evelyn a practice to build trust. Every night before bed, Evelyn would hold whatever money she had and say, "I trust that you are multiplying while I sleep. I trust that more of you is on the way. I trust that I am taken care of. At first, Evelyn didn't feel it, but she kept doing it, night after night, week after week. And then something shifted. Evelyn woke up one morning and realized she wasn't afraid anymore. She didn't know when money would come or how it would come, but she trusted it would come. That trust changed everything. Within days, Evelyn received a call about a job opportunity she'd forgotten she applied for. Within weeks, she was hired. Within months, her financial situation had completely turned around. Trust was the missing piece. Florence taught that the universe always provides, but you have to be open to receiving. Most people block their blessings because they don't believe they're coming. They say they want money, but they live in fear that it won't show up. And that fear creates resistance. It's like trying to fill a cup while holding your hand over the top. You have to remove the resistance. You have to open your hand. Talking to money removes resistance because it shifts you from fear to faith. Let me give you the 8th story, and this one ties everything together. Her name was Grace. Grace was a single mother working 3 jobs and still barely surviving. She was exhausted, hopeless, and angry. When she met Florence, she said, "I work harder than anyone I know, and I have nothing to show for it." "What's the point?" Florence said. "Grace, hard work without the right energy is just suffering. You're working against money instead of with it." Grace didn't understand. Florence explained, "Right now, you're hustling from a place of lack. You're saying, I have to work this hard because money won't come any other way. You're operating from fear, but what if you worked from a place of trust? What if you said, I work because I love to serve, and money flows to me easily?" The action might look the same, but the energy is completely different, and energy is everything. Florence taught Grace to change her internal dialogue. Before leaving for work, Grace would say, "Money, I'm going out into the world today. Meet me there. Surprise me with your presence." At the end of the day, Grace would say, "Thank you for every dollar I earned today. Multiply while I rest." It sounded simple, almost too simple, but Grace was desperate enough to try. Within 1 week, one of Grace's employers gave her a raise, unsolicited. Within 2 weeks, another employer offered her more hours at a higher rate. Within 1 month, Grace realized she didn't need 3 jobs anymore. She was making the same money with 2 jobs. Within 3 months, she was down to 1 job that paid more than all 3 combined. Same skills, same city, same Grace, different energy, different results. This is the heart of Florence's teaching. Money isn't the enemy. Lack isn't a punishment. Struggle isn't noble. You're not being tested by poverty. You're simply living out the beliefs you've been carrying. And the moment you change those beliefs, the moment you start speaking to money like it's a friend instead of a stranger, like it's a partner instead of an opponent, everything shifts. Here's where we need to go deeper still. Florence taught something that most spiritual teachers today miss. Money is not separate from your spiritual path. In fact, money is one of the clearest ways the universe communicates with you. When money flows easily, it's a sign you're aligned with your purpose. When money struggles, it's not punishment, it's feedback. It's the universe saying, something in your vibration needs adjusting. Think about water. Water flows naturally downhill. It doesn't struggle. It doesn't force. It simply follows the path of least resistance. Money works the same way. It flows to where there's openness, where there's receptivity, where there's alignment. When you're in a state of fear, doubt, or resentment, you create resistance. You're essentially building a dam that blocks the natural flow. Talking to money is how you remove that dam. Let me tell you about the 9th woman. Her name was Margaret. Margaret was a secretary who made barely enough to survive. She had dreams of traveling, of living in a beautiful home, of having financial freedom, but those dreams felt impossible. When she met Florence, Margaret said, "I want more money, but I feel guilty for wanting it. There are people suffering in the world. How can I ask for more when others have less?" Florence looked at her with such compassion and said, "Margaret, your poverty doesn't help anyone. When you struggle, you have nothing to give. When you thrive, you become a source of light for others. The universe doesn't want you to suffer. Suffering is not spiritual. Abundance is spiritual. You being broke doesn't feed a hungry child, but you being prosperous, you can change lives." That perspective shift changed everything for Margaret. Florence taught her a new affirmation. "I receive abundance so I can be a blessing to others. Money flows to me so I can serve the world." Margaret started saying this every morning and every night, and something miraculous happened. Within 2 weeks, Margaret's boss offered her a promotion she didn't even know existed. Within a month, her salary doubled. Within 6 months, Margaret was sponsoring 3 children in need, donating to causes she cared about, and still had more than enough for herself. She became living proof that prosperity and generosity go hand in hand. Now, here's something Florence emphasized that's critical. Timing. She said the universe doesn't operate on your timeline. When you start talking to money with gratitude and respect, you're planting seeds. But seeds don't become trees overnight. You have to water them, you have to tend to them, you have to trust the process. Some people see results in days, some in weeks, some in months. But everyone who stays consistent sees results. Florence had a student named Clara who practiced talking to money for 6 months before she saw a single tangible result. 6 months of saying thank you to pennies. 6 months of blessing money when it left. 6 months of inviting more money into her life. And then, on month 7, everything exploded. Clara inherited money from a distant relative she didn't know existed. She got a new job that paid triple her previous salary. And a business idea she'd been sitting on suddenly took off. All at once, the floodgates opened. Florence said, the universe was preparing Clara. It was lining up circumstances, connecting people, creating opportunities. But none of that could manifest until Clara's energy was ready to receive it. This is the part most people miss. They try the practice for a week, don't see instant results, and give up. But the universe is always working behind the scenes. Your job is to stay faithful, stay consistent, and trust the process. Let me share another layer of this teaching. Florence said that money responds not just to your words, but to your identity. If you see yourself as a victim, money will treat you like a victim. If you see yourself as unworthy, money will stay away. But if you see yourself as a co-creator with the universe, as someone designed for abundance, as someone who is divinely supported, money will mirror that identity back to you. There was a woman named Ruth who came to Florence completely broken. Ruth had been in debt for years, and no matter what she did, the debt kept growing. She was drowning. Florence asked her one simple question. Ruth, who do you believe you are? Ruth said, I'm a failure. I'm cursed. I'm destined to be poor. Florence said, there's your problem. You've accepted an identity of lack, and the universe is simply agreeing with you. Florence taught Ruth to create a new identity. Every morning, Ruth would stand in front of a mirror and say, I am a woman of prosperity. I am blessed. I am divinely supported. Money flows to me easily and abundantly. At first, Ruth felt like a liar. She didn't believe the words, but Florence told her, say them anyway. Your subconscious doesn't care if you believe them right now. It just records what you repeat. Keep repeating abundance, and eventually, you'll become it. Ruth committed to the practice for 90 days, and slowly, something shifted. By day 30, Ruth noticed she felt less anxious about money. By day 60, opportunities started showing up. Small things at first, like a refund she'd forgotten about, a discount at the store. By day 90, Ruth had paid off 1/3 of her debt. By month 6, all her debt was gone. By the end of the year, Ruth had savings for the first time in her adult life. Same Ruth, new identity, different results. Here's another critical teaching from Florence. Money loves specificity. When you're vague about what you want, the universe is vague about what it gives you. But when you're specific, clear, and confident about your desires, the universe responds with precision. Florence taught her students to write down exact amounts, exact timelines, and exact purposes for the money they wanted to receive. There was a woman named Josephine who wanted to travel to Europe, but had no idea how she'd afford it. Florence told her, get specific. How much do you need? When do you want to go? What will you do there? Josephine did the math. She needed $1,200. She wanted to go in 6 months. She would visit Paris, Rome, and London. Florence said, good. Now talk to money with that specificity. Say, money, I invite $1,200 to come to me within 6 months so I can experience the beauty of Europe. Josephine felt silly, but she did it every single day. And within 3 months, half the time she'd requested, Josephine received an unexpected bonus at work, a tax refund she'd forgotten about, and a gift from a relative. Total, $1,300. She booked her trip and went to Europe, returning with a heart full of gratitude and a deep knowing that the universe listens when you get clear. Now let me address something important. What about when things get hard? What about when you're talking to money, blessing it, thanking it, and you still get hit with an unexpected bill or lose your job? Florence had an answer for this too. She said, "The universe is always moving you toward your highest good. Sometimes what looks like loss is actually redirection." There was a woman named Charlotte who lost her job 2 weeks after she started practicing Florence's teachings. Charlotte was furious. She thought, "This doesn't work. I blessed money and now I'm unemployed." But Florence told her, "Charlotte, trust the process. This job loss isn't punishment, it's preparation. Something better is coming, but you had to leave that position to make room for it." Charlotte didn't believe it, but she kept talking to money anyway. She kept saying, "Thank you for providing for me. I trust that something better is on the way." And within 1 month, Charlotte was offered a job at a company she'd always dreamed of working for, with double her previous salary and better benefits. She realized later that if she hadn't lost her first job, she never would have been available for the second one. What looked like a setback was actually a setup. This is the faith that Florence called her students into. Not blind faith, not naive faith, but faith rooted in the understanding that the universe is always conspiring for your good. When you talk to money with that level of trust, you're not just asking for dollars and cents. You're aligning with the divine flow of abundance that wants to carry you toward your greatest life. Let me tell you about the 10th woman in this series of stories. Her name was Violet. Violet was in her 60s when she met Florence. She'd spent her entire life believing it was too late for her to prosper. She'd missed her chance. She was too old. Florence looked at her and said, "Violet, abundance has no expiration date. The universe doesn't check your birth certificate before sending you blessings. If you're alive, you're eligible." Florence taught Violet the same practice she taught everyone else. Talk to money like it's a friend. Thank it, bless it, invite it. And Violet, despite her doubts, committed to the practice. Within 2 months, Violet reconnected with an old friend who invited her to invest in a small business venture. Violet took the leap. Within a year, that business became incredibly successful. And Violet, at 62 years old, became financially independent for the first time in her life. Violet told Florence, "I wasted 60 years believing lies about money. But thank God I didn't waste the rest of my life." That's the beauty of this teaching. It doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter how long you've struggled. It doesn't matter how old you are, or how much debt you have, or how many times you've failed. The moment you change your relationship with money, everything can shift. Now, I want to bring this full circle and give you a practice you can start right now. Florence called this the money gratitude ritual, and it's one of the most powerful exercises she ever taught. Here's how it works. Every night before you go to sleep, take out whatever money you have. It could be cash, it could be a bank statement, it could even be coins you find in your pocket. Hold that money in your hands, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, and then say these words out loud. "Thank you, money, for being in my life. Thank you for every way you've served me today. I bless you. I honor you. I release any fear or resentment I've carried toward you. I invite you to multiply while I sleep. I trust that more of you is on the way. I am open. I am ready. I am grateful." Do this every single night for 30 days. Don't skip a night. Don't rush through it. Make it a sacred ritual and watch what happens. You will start to notice shifts. Small things at first, a discount here, a refund there, an unexpected gift. And then bigger things, a raise, a new opportunity, a door opening that you didn't even know existed. But here's the key. You have to do it with sincerity. You can't just say the words like a robot. You have to feel them. You have to mean them. You have to let yourself believe, even if just for those few minutes, that the universe is on your side, that money is your friend, and that abundance is your birthright. Florence used to say, "Your words are the bridge between your inner world and your outer reality." When you speak to money with love, you're building a bridge for prosperity to walk across. That's what this entire teaching is about. You're not manipulating the universe. You're not forcing anything. You're simply aligning yourself with the natural flow of abundance that has always been available to you. Let me share one more story before we close. This one is about a woman named Penelope. Penelope was different from the other women who came to Florence. She wasn't broke. She wasn't struggling. She actually had a decent amount of money, but she was miserable. She told Florence, "I have money, but I'm terrified I'm going to lose it. Every day I wake up afraid. I count my money obsessively. I can't enjoy it. I can't spend it. I just hoard it out of fear." Florence said, "Penelope, you don't have a money problem. You have a trust problem. You're holding money hostage instead of letting it flow. And because you're gripping it so tightly, you're suffocating the very thing you're trying to protect." Florence taught Penelope to practice releasing. Every time Penelope paid for something, she would say, "I trust that this money is going out into the world to serve, and it will return to me multiplied. I release control and trust the flow." At first, Penelope felt panic every time she spent $1, but she kept practicing, and slowly, the fear began to dissolve. Within weeks, Penelope noticed that her money wasn't decreasing. It was actually growing. Why? Because she stopped blocking the flow with fear. She started trusting the circulation. And the universe responded by sending her even more opportunities to receive. By the end of the year, Penelope had more money than when she started, and for the first time in her life, she felt peace around it. This is such an important lesson. Money doesn't just come to you, it also has to move through you. If you block it with fear, if you grip it with anxiety, if you hoard it with scarcity, you stop the flow. But when you bless it coming in and bless it going out, you become a conduit for abundance. You become a channel through which prosperity flows freely. And here's the final truth I want to leave you with. You deserve this. You deserve financial freedom. You deserve abundance. You deserve to wake up every morning without fear, without stress, without the weight of scarcity on your shoulders. You didn't come to this earth to struggle. You didn't come here to barely survive. You came here to thrive, to create, to experience the fullness of life. And money is one of the tools that allows you to do that. So start today, right now. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting until you have more money to be grateful for. Start with what you have. Start with a single coin. Start with a kind word to the universe. Start with the belief that you are worthy of receiving. Because you are. You always have been. And the moment you truly believe that, the moment you start speaking to money like it's a living, responsive presence in your life, everything changes. Florence Scovel Shinn gave us a gift 100 years ago. A gift that has transformed thousands of lives. And now, that gift is yours. Take it, use it, share it, talk to your money, bless it, thank it, invite it, and watch as your life transforms in ways you never imagined possible. Now, I want you to do something right now. Seriously, pause this video for a moment if you can. Go grab whatever money you have. It could be a dollar bill, it could be coins, it could be your wallet. Hold it in your hands, close your eyes if you're comfortable. Take a deep breath and say out loud, "Thank you for being in my life. I welcome you. I honor you. I'm ready to receive more of you." Say it with feeling. Say it like you mean it. Even if it feels awkward, do it anyway. Did you do it? Good. You just planted a seed. That seed is going to grow. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it's growing. And every time you repeat that practice, you're watering that seed. Florence said, "Miracles don't happen overnight, but they do happen. 30 days. That's all she asked. 30 days of speaking to money with respect, gratitude, and love. 30 days of blessing it when it comes and when it goes. 30 days of trusting that the universe is conspiring in your favor. What do you have to lose? If you keep doing what you've been doing, you'll keep getting what you've been getting. But if you try something different, something that hundreds of women in the 1920s proved actually works, you might just experience a financial breakthrough you never thought possible. If this message resonated with you, I need you to do something for me. Like this video right now. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Comment below and tell me, what's one thing you're going to say to your money today? And subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next lesson, because we're just getting started. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Thousands of people have walked this path before you, and thousands more are walking it with you right now. Florence showed us the way. Now it's your turn to step into the abundance that's been waiting for you all along. One more thing before we finish. Florence used to say, "The universe has a perfect plan for you, but you have to get out of your own way and let it unfold." Talking to money is how you get out of your own way. It's how you remove the blocks. It's how you open the door to miracles. It's how you signal to the universe that you're ready to receive everything that's been prepared for you. So take this seriously. Don't treat it like a game. Don't treat it like a fun experiment you'll try for 3 days and then forget about. Commit to it. Commit to 30 days minimum. Commit to showing up every single day with gratitude, with faith, with love. And I promise you, based on 100 years of proven results, your life will never be the same. Florence Scovel Shinn changed the world with this teaching. She gave women and men permission to prosper, to receive, to thrive. She broke the chains of poverty consciousness that had held humanity captive for centuries. And now, that same power is available to you. All you have to do is open your mouth and speak to your money like the living, responsive, faithful friend it truly is. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for opening your heart to this message. I believe in you. Florence believed in you. And most importantly, the universe believes in you. Now it's time for you to believe in yourself. Go talk to your money, and I'll see you in the next video.